everyone. This is Soraya back with Purpose Professional Media. Sometimes you meet someone that is so inspirational and filled with light and goodness that you can't help but notice them. That's today's guest, Zoey. Zoey is a wonderful life coach that I had the privilege of meeting when I attended an entrepreneurship accelerator in Colorado. She embodies what it means to be a global citizen, an empathic woman, and a mind, body, soul expert. When meeting her, it was evident that her work is not just her life's purpose, but her soul's essence. She truly embodies what it means to be interconnected and rooted in who you are and exemplify that in various facets of your life. In today's episode, we take it all the way to her origins in China, her time living in Germany, and her early career feats as a marketing professional. Listen up to hear how COVID and her life coaching experience made her shift and embrace her own calling to help others. Now, let's jump into it. Okay, hello everybody. This is Soraya from the Purposeful Professional, and we are the podcast for your career, the people, and the culture. I'm super excited to have an illustrious life coach and inspiration. She is an empowerer. She's a purpose chaser and a life artist. I'm really excited to have Zoey on the podcast today. She's such an inspiration to me and to so many other people. She has such a warm energy that really allows you to see yourself in your highest light. And I'm not surprised that she's such a boss and badass life coach because it really speaks to her mission and it really speaks to who she is as a person. So Zoey, please introduce yourself to the people on the podcast.
Hi, thank you, Soraya, for inviting me to this podcast. I feel so honored to, this is my first English podcast, so I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. And my name is Zoey. I come from China. I am the China's youngest life coach with PCC, Professional Certified Coach, and Coactive Certified Life Coach certifications. I have coached over 250 millennial entrepreneurs and business professionals in the last 4 years, mostly helping them to find their passions and missions in order to help them make resonant choice. So before that, I also, besides my coaching work, I have worked in ByteDance, the high-tech company, for 3 years, and then before also work in business school for 2 years. So all of my experience are about entrepreneurship development, business growth. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I think you have such an exciting trajectory and also such an exciting life. I'm so excited that this is your first English podcast. That is amazing. I feel honored because I know you have so much to say, and I'm super excited that you are also breaking into the US market and sharing your voice on these American podcasts. So thank you for taking that risk. And also, being the youngest life coach in China through PCC. That's amazing. Like, you are a trailblazer. And I definitely see that in you. And I'm excited to get into some of the conversation today. So one thing we like to do with all of our guests now, we like to do a segment called Pop Purpose. And in this segment, we like to talk about a pop culture issue relevant to each guest's expertise. And I figured you are, like me, somebody who really values mind, body, and soul, right? You value meaningful work, meaningful lives, having a mission. So I wanted to talk to you about is the lack of meaning and direction that people have at work and how that is associated with burnout. So the results from a recent study, show that uncertainty at work is much more strongly related to burnout than common work stressors such as high assigned workload, high responsibility, high job complexity, and time pressures. The main sources of uncertainty were role ambiguity, role conflict, and absence of leader vision. These sources of uncertainty were strongly associated with a sense of meaninglessness and a lack of positive emotions, both promoting burnout among subordinates. So what this really is showing is that when people don't feel like we have meaning at work, we're more likely to be burnt out. That's just kind of the plain Jane way of explaining it. And I figured because you are an expert on helping people to find meaning, and you also have so many professional experiences where you've had to find meaning beyond that, I wanted to have a conversation with you on that, just for our little intro appetizer conversation. So my first question for you is, why do you think people are lacking meaning and purpose in their careers today?
That's a very great question. From my observation and my experiences of coaching over 200, business professionals, and I discovered that the main reason is that many entrepreneurs or the CEO, the founders, are lacking the long-term visions, or to say they build a company for the sake of themselves with the big ego part, but that ego part cannot align with the common ground, the common interest of the people. So many, business professionals are attracted maybe by the salaries, by the good compensations. However, they are not really seeing the alignments of their values with the values of the founders. So that's what I saw the greatest problem here. That's why, later in my coaching journey, I switched from coaching, professionals to coaching more the entrepreneurs, because I believe that we really need to shift our leadership pattern, our leadership model to a new phase that enables the next generation of entrepreneurs to find the missions and then build an organization that can benefit the society, including employees, customers, community around, so that all the people can actually, send this positive energy to the world together.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And I love how you brought up ego and how founders build companies on our egos because we don't understand that we do that. But a lot of us do that. And you're right. It is that lack of long term alignment between your values and the company's values that I think can contribute to that meaninglessness, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For example, I realized that in my career, early on, I saw a lot of lost souls. Those souls that work really hard in workplace. However, after they work a while, they realize that first they're easily abandoned. What do I mean by abandoned? It means that even if they work hard, they don't enjoy or harvest the kind of results from their hard work. Instead, it was utilized by people above them, and then they're just like tools. So in the end, they just don't really get the benefits of working hard. So that's the one problem with capitalism. That's what I see. Like, right, we employ a lot of people, but however, we didn't actually give them the kind of benefits they really deserve. And I also saw that, yeah, many initiatives and even some products, people don't, have the kind of connection with the products they're selling. For example, right? They're just working for money, but you know, so that's a kind of a choosing process. The entrepreneurs choose those employees to fulfill their ego. However, those employees also like choose to live in that environment without realizing their missions. So they sacrifice their, bigger meaning for the sake of, money or, this survival living. So that's what I see.
I love how you use the terminology of lost souls because I really love how you blend the mind, the body, and the soul. Because I never heard anybody say, when you're selling a product that you don't align with, or you're working in a job for which your values don't align with the job, you're a lost soul. I've never heard anyone say that. And I think that's fascinating that you see it on the soul level, because I think a lot of us have yet to perceive these issues that deeply. Oftentimes it's like, oh, if you don't like your job, just go and get another job, but people don't often ask themselves, why don't I like my job? Why am I crying every Sunday? People talk about crying on Sunday because I don't want to go to job on Monday. Like a lot of people live that reality. And I'm grateful that you said it's a soul thing. It is a soul thing.
Yeah, I love what you say about like soul, because what you said about, oh, I'm going to look for another job or another partner or another thing that can fulfills my needs. In that way, we are actually searching externally for our internal satisfaction and internal peace. However, if you don't really find your inner peace and your inner wisdom, you don't do that work, all the, you cannot be satisfied at all times. You just get one thing, and then after a while you immediately want to pursue another thing, so you will never be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole thing behind the rat race. So, speaking of that, I have a question for you. And my second question is, do you think we should develop meaning and purpose in our lives first and then extend that into our careers? Or should we look to our careers to provide us with a sense of meaning and purpose? What would you say as a life coach?
I would say the first option is better, and because actually our life is like a light wheel. Just imagine you have different parts that incorporate your life, not only work or career, but you also have your relationships. For example, your family, friends, and your partners, right? You also need some recreation. And besides that, you also find some meaning in community, right? So I think meaning can be manifested in many different aspects of our lives. Some people want the meaning more in their relationship, right? They place so much values on their relationships. But others, like me, we like to work hard and we really, love the kind of achievements from our careers. So I would say go find your mission and life purpose first. And then after you realize that, you can actually bring in different aspects of your life. Take me for an example. I discovered my mission with the help of a life coach in India back in 2017 in Germany. At that time, I suffered from an existential crisis because, as a master student, I have worked, for 5 internships before, but I didn't find a kind of fulfillment or alignment with my strengths, etc. So I asked my life coach at that time, like, what is the passion I want to strive for the rest of my life? And then we take like 6 months to discover that. In the end, a vision just popped out. It says like inspire humankind's potential through education and communication. So education and communication are two powerful gifts that I can bring to the world, but that all leads to inspiring people's potential. So that's my uh, mission. If that's you have better have a word to describe your meaning, and then maybe you can bring that mission to your daily lives. For example, for me, inspire people's potential in my career, I can do multiple things. I can do marketing. I can talk to someone about the recent technology advancements, etc. And in my relationships, I love to inspire my partners by taking him out to hiking or taking him out to meet new friends. So that's the way I inspire him, so I can find meaning in everything I do, right?
I love that because sometimes I'm like, does Zoe not hear what she's saying right now? So you're telling us you're going against conventional wisdom and you're saying, no, the reason why you're not happy is because you don't really know why you're here. You don't know your life's mission. And when you know your mission, like you said, every area on the life wheel, whether relationships, family, career, we can gain satisfaction out of that because we know what our purpose is. And I'm grateful that number one, that purpose statement is so beautiful. Thank you to the coach who helped you unlock that because a lot of us are living life on autopilot. We don't even really know why we do what we do, you know?
I love how you describe like autopilot. I will also use the word like default mode. We have a default mode in ourselves, right? That makes some decisions or makes us happy, but we are not actually aware what underlies that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, what would be your top three tips and strategies for infusing more purpose into our lives and careers? If I was maybe your client and I said, I'm on default mode, I feel like my life is trash, I'm unhappy. How would you instruct me to infuse more purpose into my life and into my career?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very cool. I actually would use one session to help my clients envision their uh, missions, so I can share some of our processes. But I need to mention that sometimes you need some coaches to help you, deep dive into your, manifestation. After you get the manifestation, sometimes you need someone to talk to help you get a deeper awareness. So the first suggestion is to envision your ideal life in the next 20 years or 30 years. At that point, I will ask you to imagine, for example, if you're 80 years old, and then you are having a dinner with your friends and family, and they all come to you to celebrate your birthday, what would they say to you? What was the impact that you want to bring to them? So those are one tool that can help you find that. The second strategy, I think, is to really remember your past experience that make you fully awake, make you fully in a flow status, like concentrated, focused, happy without awareness of, all the kind of anxiety. And then at that point, I want you to know what makes you so excited, what makes you so involved, right? And the third scenario or strategy is to think about what makes you so sad, mad, and feel you're in a trash, right? What makes you feel that? And then really feel that emotions. And then you will notice somewhere that this kind of inconsistency is actually reflecting your true desires. What does that mean? For example, if you're suffering from inequality, right? Then equality may be the thing that you're striving for, right? Because it kind of contradicts your values. So that's the thing that really represents you. So three strategies you can do it on your own or with your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love those three strategies. And I, first and foremost, I love the like see yourself at 80 years old. Because a huge part of why I started this podcast is because I want these episodes to be almost like a digital time capsule where people can come back to them over and over again and listen to how they speak about themselves and also what they want their legacy to be. I think one of the things that we share is that we're long term thinkers. You know, we think not only about today, but about tomorrow. And I love that you encourage people to think like, when I'm 80 years old, what do I want people to say about me? What do I want my life to be like when I look back on my years? I love that. I also love how you make people identify what makes them feel alive and then also it makes them feel angry. One of my biggest breakthroughs that I received when I was in college is I took a course on management and we talked about how emotions are data. And when you're managing the self, you have to realize that your emotions are not good or bad. You know, sometimes we're taught like, oh, anger is a bad thing, or even sadness is a bad thing. But what I've come to realize is my emotions are an alarm. You know, teaching me what I should look at. So if I'm sad in a particular career, I know that I'm feeling despair. I'm not being fully utilized. Maybe I'm bored. Maybe I'm not being stimulated as much as I need to be. And if I'm happy in a career, I get joy from it. Like you said, you talked about flow state. So I really do love your method. And I think it works so well because it's so strategic in helping people to get from where they currently are to, the ideal self, which is where they know that they can be, you know?
Yeah. I love how you put it. Emotions are datas. To another sense, we can say that we are not our emotions, we are not our minds, we are the persons that are witnessing all that is happening around us, maybe our emotions, right? So we do not identify ourselves as the kind of selves that are trapped in emotions. So those are just data, and it's interesting to observe them and really, embrace them. Yeah, they're also like wisdom inside.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that. And I think like a lot of us are trapped in our emotions because you'll often probably hear people say as a life coach, hey, I'm just a depressed person or I'm not an energetic person. And it's like
Mm, yeah,
every time you say that about yourself, you're reinforcing a negative pattern. And then
mm,
furthermore, I've seen even the most dull people light up when it comes to something that they really, really love. You know what I mean? So we're not our
yeah.
emotions. We're not our emotions.
Yes, yes. And in that part, we are judging ourselves, right? When you say that I'm that kind of person, we are actually judging ourselves and reinforcing that so that we don't have any spaces. But I think that our mind is so capable, it's even capable than what we really think. I realized that there is a study saying that we only utilize like maybe 7% of our brains, right? Like I think like less than 10%. So we really, that's what I believe. I think everyone is resourceful and whole and complete. So you don't know what kind of potential you will really get.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, that was a opener. We went there and I thank you for answering those questions with so much depth and grace because you really I think even this first portion of the episode, I think people are inspired. And I could even envision people, tears running down someone's face when they realize, how effective that method can be in helping them to really find their purpose. So now I want to get into who you are as a person. And in my mind, I call you the life artist. That's what I call you. And I know you said, inspire humankind's potential. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, Zoe, the life artist. That's what I say about you. So I want to know, you named your business Life Artist. Do you see yourself as a life artist? And have you always had this inclination towards intentional and purposeful living?
I love that. I have a question for you as well. Like, why do you see me as a live artist?
Yeah.
Like, what is your definition like?
Thank you for flipping it back. So I think a life artist is someone that, like how an artist will take someone else's vision and helps them to translate it into a tangible piece of art. I think what you do as a coach is you take someone's vision of their ideal self and you help to bring it into manifestation. So I always say artists sometimes take the most crazy and otherworldly ideas and bring them into the physical realm. I think that is what you do. You help us to take who we want to be and actually live that now. So that's why I call you life artist. Hopefully did that clarify a
I,
bit?
I love the new meaning you deliver. Yeah, it's even like more profound than I initially imagined. Yeah. Before that, why I use live artists is because I think everyone can live the life beautifully, and I will live my life beautifully. I have a motto that says like, when when you really shine, when you be yourself, you serve the world naturally. So yeah, when you are really can live your life in a beautiful and in a very peaceful, harmonious way, you're actually serving people all around you, and then people will want to connect with you. And then when they also get that kind of energy, they will also give that life energy to more people. That's what I experienced. I have a lot of I have a lot of coaches. After they like receive a period of coaching from me, many of them just like say, oh, I would like to bring this energy and coaching back to maybe my students, my partners, and they're I'm influencing life, and then they will influence others. So that's how I imagine like live artists.
And it's the power of art to touch lives, you know? Like, yeah.
And I also love the way you depicted like we're actually transforming other people's vision into reality, and that's exactly also what I'm good at, because I'm a Capricorn, but I also have the kind of visionary part. So that's also what many coaches said about me. They say like, Zoe, you really have the kind of creative energy that can help us bring the kind of momentum to our vision and then make it come true. So like almost like 6 months, some coaches have achieved substantial success in their material life, not only in their mental life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love how you said like they take the energy that you give them from coaching. So I feel like one of the things that life coaches excel at is understanding that the energy that we put out is very powerful. Like one of my favorite books written by, I guess we could say he would have been a life coach in his time. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he talks about how thoughts are things, right? So I think by helping people to reframe their thoughts, you're giving them tangible tools or even setting them up to achieve things. You talk about manifest vision, all these things. You actually set people up to execute that by helping to rewire the internal. So I really, really love that. And I think that's amazing. I think that's an amazing gift to have.
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool. I love this conversation.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going well. So I want to talk about a little bit about like your empatheticness. And I know like you're a life coach, and life coaches are really empathetic people who are attracted to the challenge of helping others to find their direction and their purpose in life. Like, was it always apparent to you as a child that this is what you wanted to be, that you wanted to be a life coach?
Yeah, it's a very good question. When I reflect back to my early life, I will realize that everything is like a pearl necklace. And I was born in a teacher family, so my earliest memory is all about schools. My mother, who was a math teacher, would ask me to help her with the schoolwork. For example, like correcting some exams, or handing out books to her students. So I even like in our room, our home is all in, because we live in school. So at night, students would come to our home and discuss with my parents about, their daily struggles, or, their classmates' daily struggles. So I actually participated in a very early years in my life about, helping others. And I remember that I one, like, I don't know, one night I always like accompany my mother to visit her students' home. At that time, we have this kind of student homes visits. So I remember at that time there was an art student born in a fisherman family, and then I realized that his home was kind of poor. Environment was not very great, and his parents were not encouraging him to continue his studies. So my mother actually put a lot of efforts into persuading his parents to let him continue. So at that time I start, there is something deep in my heart that says, like, I want to help more people to really play out their fullest potential, regardless of their environment and their, family backgrounds, right? So I really saw that talent in the boy, right? Although the boy is much older than me, but I really feel the kind of pitness when I see someone in that situation. So if you say that, that's my early memory. So that my parents as teachers, and my father was a principal as well for 30 years right now, managing elementary junior school in my region. So think that they have played a pivotal role in me, impacting me to be an educator. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And I notice like a lot of the time, for some of us, compassion is like passed down to us. Like you see it through your parents. You said your parents were teachers and they gave their lives literally to help other people. And it's funny how you were so moved by this young man, not having his parents validate his career choice. I think those early experiences oftentimes, and you probably say this in your coaching practice, reveal who we really want to be on the soul level, right? Like these early experiences reveal who we really are, you know?
Yeah, so I will always say to some of my parents, coaches, like, you don't need to like send your children to like homeschool, or oh no, like boarding school, very elite boarding schools. You are the best example of your children, right? The way you treat your family, the way you treat your friends is actually the best education that your children can receive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. So, on this topic of like your upbringing in China, like tell me more about your upbringing in China. What was the most formative experience for you, and what was the experience where you truly knew like, hey, I want to dedicate my life to inspiring the world's potential?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, I studied German in Beijing, and that I made that choice because I realized early on during my high school that I love languages. I don't know why I have the kind of, passion, but I just remember me always reading English, different English texts and different English, like, I like to watch a lot of English movies in high school. So I even like read many different scripts. Every day afternoon I would, stood in a balcony of our high school classrooms. So during the 3 years in high school, I realized that. So in universities, I got the chance to choose whatever major I would like to, study. So luckily, I chose German. And then in university, I actually did three things. One is, you know, studying German, studying a language. The second is involving in international volunteer. I led a 20 people team to organize 4 international volunteer projects. Brought a lot of like international volunteers to our local volunteer projects, including autism education, environmentally friendly projects, etc. And the third is about teaching. So I also was recruited by our school to teach oral English classes to uh, peer university students. So at those university years, I felt like I know what I'm good at, like teaching, communicating, connecting with people. But then I studied marketing in Germany because, after I getting my German bachelor degree, I feel like, oh, I need to explore Europe and, utilize my German skills. And then, but in Germany, I realized that that's my first, black hole period because Germany was kind of different than the environment in China. In China, although I was doing what I loved, but I still feel like I was forced by something bigger, something that asked me to do something right, right? But in Germany, there's no kind of rules. So it's like I was forced into a jungle or a kind of very vast grassland and have no directions. So it is at that point I started to ask myself from the bottom of my heart, what do I really want, instead of following the rules and trying to be the number one or the best student. So my upbringing in China was kind of, I feel I'm the lucky one. I got a lot of resources, a lot of help from the system. But I also, if I didn't go to Germany, I will always be in the system without realizing that I was kind of like still influenced by the external rules, right? So that's what I learned. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're talking and your story is a testament to the fact that university life is such a journey, but it also is it's such a place of purpose if you make it be that purposeful place. And it's funny because you were in China studying German and you talked about, how that honestly opened the way for you to then go to Germany and go from the China context, which might have been more conservative or might have been more, your society's telling you what to do, into Germany where you were able to see, different ways of life, different ways of thinking, different ways of even navigating and building your own purpose in your own career. So I think that's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that you were able to use your interest almost as a conduit or a vehicle for you to discover your true self. We say that all the time, and it's not a cliche. Like, our true self is out there, but you have to discover it.
I remember one interesting phrase that is said by a famous designer. He says like, you will not know yourself until you have, jumped into something bigger than yourselves. So I think culture wise, I people when you want to grow, you need to place yourself in different environments to see who you are, right? So in China, I thought I was kind of, a successful student leader, but in Germany, which the environment where everyone were so introspective and kind of like, getting away from social environment, and I will also see myself who, the kind of person who are fearing that kind of loneliness at that time. So yeah, I saw a lot of like dark sides of myself when I was in Germany. And that is what really brought me to coaching because after I received like coaching for 3 years, back in 2020 in pandemic, I was at home, everyone was locked at home. And I realized that, oh wow, maybe I can use coaching to help people suffering from anxiety and uncertainty at that time. So I just like, during the Valentine's Day, exactly on that day, 2020, I post a social post in my Chinese social media. I said like, "Do you want to talk to me? I can, yeah, just like share some of your mental struggles with you." And then people come to me, and then I got my first clients from MIT, and that's how I started my coaching. And then after I began coaching practices for 4 months, I started, you know, engaging in coaching courses. That's different than what the normal coaches would do. Like they will first participate in course and then practice. But I do the vice versa practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like coaching found you. It fell into your lap. And you probably tell your clients all the time, like, sometimes your path just falls into your lap. It finds you, it chooses you. I've been saying to people a lot of the time that, even about entrepreneurship, like, entrepreneurship chooses you. It almost chooses people and it falls. lap, and either you're going to answer to the call or you're not. But I love what you said about Germany, and first of all, you called Germany the jungle, which I think is kind of funny because we don't think of Europe as a jungle, but you're right. Anything outside of our own world is a jungle, right? It's something to explore. It's something to play around in, and I love how you reference Germany in such a way in that it showed you the importance of environments being able to show us who we are, because I've never thought of that, like put myself in different environments to show myself who I really am, and then from there to dig and find my true self. Can you describe more of that? Can you explain more of that for the people on the podcast?
Oh, I need to make a different metaphor about Germany and China. Let's make one more better metaphor. For China, I would say it's a market. It's a morning market, like, flea market, where people are loud, people are exchanging stuff, and people are, the social, how to say, distance of people are really kind of small. People are next to another, and we are influencing another in this environment. So you kind of cannot escape the kind of social orders. It's hard to do that. But in Germany, I think it's a vast grassland. People are living quite apart, and they love to have their own wooden house where they can immerse themselves in reading, self work. So it's kind of like the why those philosophers all come from Germany, right? And so I think, in Germany, the vast grasslands, I was kind of like, at that time, I was living in a small dorm, only myself. So I always, as an extroverted person, I always want to go out to, engage in social activities like in China before. But I found that in Germany, I was not able to do that. There were not so many, commercial or, those events happening in Germany. So what did I do? First, I realized that I was this kind of person who need this ongoing adventures. But Germany, this place, it definitely not a place for the younger self version of myself. So what did I do? At that time, I made a bold initiative. I chose to go back to China to, apply for jobs in my second year. And then at that time, I jumped into an education conference, and I realized that in their in a booklet they said that there was a conference in Europe, in Germany, that time later. So I talked to the CEO of the education media that, okay, I will go back to Germany soon, and I can help you to be the evangelist, to help you connect with the educational institutions in Europe and help you report some of the interesting talks by the European educators. But I want you to cover my expenses in Germany, attending the conference. So they said, yes, why not, right? And then so I became the chief evangelist of the top education media in China. So at that point, I created my job, and I created my job content by seeing the needs about intercultural exchange. And so I jumped into that. So went back to Germany and attended the conference as maybe one of the very few Asian candidates there. And then I also invited the keynote speaker, Pasi Saber, the Finland educator, to my interview, and interview also some of the great education entrepreneurs in Europe. For example, the one who founded the education institutions for refugees in Germany. So, and all did that by myself. But before that, I didn't get any training about writing articles, doing journalism, nothing. I was not a journalism student, right? So that's what got me to marketing. So I created my job. I created the kind of like wonderful opportunities with people. So even in the very kind of like vast grasslands, it seems that you have no resources. I still think that there is chance to create something.
Yeah. I love that analogy. So I love you comparing China to that market. Like China was where you had that extroverted life, but it seems like even though Germany showed you prefer the extroversion of China, it also revealed to you, like you said, the intercultural communication, the different things that might happen with intercultural exchange, and maybe thinking long and hard about what might happen to people who move from China to Germany. How might they feel? How might they be adjusting? And you were able to kind of, like you said, by paying attention, by being observant, by being a student of the world, you were able to look at different things and say, okay, I think that there are solutions at these intersections. I think there are new things and new ways of doing it. And I think that's the power of cultural exchange. So I feel for you that Germany didn't give you like the extroverted stimulation that you need. Cause I'm like you. I like to adventure, explore, do things. That's how I am too. But I also think like those periods of solitude can help us to produce breakthrough ideas. And in your case, it helps you to look deep within yourself and then find the next step in your career that would lead to, all the amazing stuff that you're doing now.
I think like, yeah, even in emptiness, we can create something. That's what I learned in Germany. If I were not living in Germany, I maybe just followed the trends in China and did what the majority of people were doing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's amazing. So tell us about your origins. Now I want to stop and talk a little bit about your career. Tell us about your origins in the marketing field and how the principles you learned in marketing impacted your ability to work in other fields such as education and life coaching.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very great question. So back to my story, I first got in touch with marketing back in 2017 when I designed my first job as an evangelist in Germany. And then I was back in China and I did a lot of marketing jobs afterwards for in the last 6 years. I did like marketing in an education investment company and then I did B2B marketing for the business school, helping them establishing a brand as for entrepreneurs. And then I help ByteDance to do B2B marketing, enrolling more, businesses into the TikTok e-commerce platform. And I did 2C marketing for the virtual reality brand. So it almost like I have touched every part of marketing from brand marketing, product marketing to marketing communication, public relations. What I saw in marketing is that it's very simple. All the basic logic comes down to how you deliver a good message to the right audience in the right channels or situations. So that's just one word. You need to know what you want to deliver and then what the people you want to attract. And then you use some kind of mechanisms to engage them. So that's very simple. But the whole essence of marketing is about, I think it's about how to say, building consensus and conveying something bigger than ourselves.
No, I love that. I love that. And I love how you just broke it down. I think people think of marketing as so complex, but you literally just gave us like the three-step process. Like think about how can you relay the best message, right, to the right audience using the right channels and levers. That really is what it is. I love that you applied that. And I love that I can see how you apply that into your work because, communication is everything. And I think a lot of us don't realize communication, verbal, nonverbal, how we connect, like these are literally the things that make life what it is and that make ideas, people, circumstances come alive. So the fact that you were able to just like seamlessly like, hey, like this is what I learned from marketing, I think that's great. But I also love the fact that you talked a lot about how marketing has really helped you to understand the importance of helping people to I guess see things a certain way and be able to shape perception as well. So that's really really great. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I would say maybe I need to correct something because mostly what I did was about marketing and communication. But for other parts of marketing, right, you need to market a product or something. I think it's also about like matching the customer's needs with the exact values of your products or services and how you kind of build a kind of connection with your ideal or customers. So in that sense, I feel all of it is about human connection. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I know you went from marketing into education. So you went from one area of human connection to another area of human connection. So I know you dabbled with a career in education for a while. Like, what were some revelations you had when working in China's educational industry? And also, how did working with entrepreneurs, because I know you were in a business school, lay the foundation for your career as a life coach today?
Oh wow, that's played a lot of important roles. Um, first, actually, my first job was not in education industry. My first job was like a management trainee in Mars Wrigley. That's the Fortune 500 companies. But at that time, I realized that I was choosing my career out of the safety concerns, or the kind of reputation concerns. So I want to go to a big name company, but after a while, like 6 months, I realized that I don't want to be in the food industry. I was totally not interested in chocolates or gum. And then I started to change jobs back to education. So, but luckily I got some chance, and then I went back to Beijing to serve the entrepreneurs. At that time, I led the 5 entrepreneurial programs cooperating with the industry giants like Alibaba, Tencent, ByteDance, etc. And at that time, what I did was kind of like I helped, I promoted the entrepreneurship camps so that more entrepreneurs can know the benefits of us. And then I also like engage in the course operations there. So that's at that point in the business school, what I did was kind of like marketing and sales in the education industry. What I learned at that period was kind of more about entrepreneurship, what entrepreneurship is really is. I also observed a lot of problems facing those entrepreneurs. That's the biggest learning myself. They're mostly facing problems about strategy, leadership, and culture, relationship management, like relationship with your investors, founders, right? Even your families, right? And also, all of them are suffering from mental illnesses, maybe we can say it, like anxiety, fear, and fear to be kicked out of the competition, etc. And one big part of me realized is that even they're rich, they're not happy, they're not peaceful. Yeah. So as a 24-year-old, I had the chance to experience their lives from a third party perspective, and I realized that okay, that's not the end. So at that point, I also made some initiative, because I realized that they stuck in their relationship with their family, so I should do something. So I partnered with the education camp industry company to organize a family education family forum. So I invited like 40 entrepreneurs families to the forum, and then invited like entrepreneurs, educators, and those professors to talk about how to deal with the relationship as entrepreneurs. And then their kids were also invited into the event to enjoy the camps delivered by the company. So I think afterwards, I saw all of their face just shining for a while. After they came out of the venue, they took pictures with their families, with their spouse and kids. That kind of smile was really different from what I saw them in class. When I saw them in class, their faces are really like serious and always like, always striving to get to the next destination. But in that case, I see another part of them. They're also a dad. They're also a mom. They also, and I also somewhat feel what they're striving for. Actually, some of them are just striving for, you know, getting a better life for their families, right? So I think those experience really helped me to get to know what entrepreneurs really get.
First of all, I love how you are a visionary where you see things that need to be done and you do them. And I think that really defines people who are leaders. Like you weren't just going to sit and say, "Okay, it's my job to support these entrepreneurs." You understood that family is really where they get their meaning. And you're right, family for a lot of people is their why. And I think so many times you talked about being rich and like not being happy. So many times you see that because the society tells us like we are supposed to pursue success at all costs. And oftentimes that is neglecting the people, the relationships, the circumstances that really serve to make us who we are and the people that pour into us so we can go out there and be the superheroes and of the world. We don't pour back into them. We take them for granted. So I think that that's amazing that you were able to see the need for family and to pursue that. So I love that. But I want to get into something that you said. You said when you were working at, I don't know if it was Mars, that you were trying to be what the society wanted you to be. Like, walk me through your process of like realizing, hey, I'm at a job that I just don't think I should be doing, but everyone is telling me I should be doing this job.
Yeah, yeah. So that was in my first job, and as a fresh graduate, I didn't actually get too much confidence in myself. But I also, like, there are two parts, like kind of like fighting with each other. One part is that because I went through all the coaching stuff right before I went into the job market. So I really know what I really want to do. But another part of me, that's the realistic part. It's just like, oh, you're just so young. You need to get more experiences. And you cannot just like go to another company within a year. You know, that's not very solid. You are not a responsible person, right? All of this judgment just come. And I also have a lot of mentors who said to me like, "Oh, Zoe, you should really develop your skills within the 3-year management training. They will give you a lot of help, etc. If you go out to the jungle, you will be dead or something like that." So a lot of like this fear just come to me. But at one point I realized at that time I still receiving coaching, and I talked to my coach, and she asked me like, who do you want to be? I said I want to be a lion walking, jump lion running in the grass field. And she says that, how can you do that? I said maybe she wants to follow a big lion and then run together. Then my life coach asked a very fundamental question. She said, like, then why would you lock yourself in a cage? So I kind of saw the picture. I was at that time locking myself in a cage. So after I saw this, you really saw where you are, where you were, and then change happened very quickly. So after that session, I actively look for jobs. So I tried a lot of times to get my ideal jobs. But I mean, the first step is really to see where you really are. Yeah.
I feel like you're touching on so many things within your story that I want to highlight for the listeners. Number one, you're touching on the fact that like you knew something was wrong and you explored that. And you talked about both sides of you being at war. And I think listen, I go through that. We all go through that. There's this side of like, you're educated, you're intelligent, do the right thing, contribute to society this way. But there's this intuition, instinct saying, like you said, I want to be a lion. Okay. I want to be a lion rolling through the jungle. I want to be out there. Right. And I think I'm thankful for your life coach because your life coach asked you who you wanted to be and didn't expect you to say, I want to be a doctor that, serves 200 patients a year. No, he or she allowed you to say you want to be a lion. You know what I mean? Like they allowed you to just say, who do you want to be? Like the first thing that comes to mind or the thing that resonates with you, like tell me what you want to be. And they allowed you to say that because now I feel like if I was to, at 23 years old, tell somebody I want to be a lion, oh, girl, you crazy. What do you mean you want to be a lion? But they helped me to understand if I said I wanted to be a lion, because you know what? I always say I want to be a jaguar.
Ah, Jaguar, you're looking
Yeah.
like Jaguar.
I always said I wanted to be a jaguar. Like I wanted to be in the jungle and I wanted to sneak up on you. And at the last minute, I just sneak up on you and pounce on you. Like I wanted to always be like a jaguar. Like I think like that is how I always saw myself. Another like fierce cat in the jungle, just really going out there, seizing life, seizing the moment. And it's funny that you said you wanted to be a lion because I'm like, yes, I also
Lion
want
and
to be
Jaguar running
a
together.
lion.
Oh,
Yeah. Lion and jaguar, we're running together. And it's funny because that's what I've always wanted to be too. And I'm grateful for your life coach that your life coach allowed you to say what you wanted to be, but also that
wow.
you answered to that you answered to that and that you made that change.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. That's also why I think life coach is so powerful because it allows you, as you said, allows you to really say something that you didn't dare to say in reality. It gives you some space to explore with patience, with more, courage. So Apple realized that we can really generate something from that kind of vastness, but in our material world or in our career, we are given a little permission, only a little bit of permission to do what we want, right? Very limited space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you are a lion, I'm a jaguar, okay? Like,
Okay,
we are out here no, we're out here doing it, and we're in the jungle, and you know what's funny? Like, for some people, the jungle is our natural habitat. That's even profound too, because like, the jungle is where we're supposed to be. Not the city, but the jungle,
I
right?
just mention one thing about the jungle because I totally get what the young professional are experiencing. Some of them think they belong to the jungle, but because in the early stage they haven't gathered enough strength to go to the jungle. They're still in a cage. It takes a lot of efforts and courage to really jump into the jungle because in the jungle you have to survive and you have to feed yourself all the time. No one feeds you, right? No shelter, right? So you have to pave the way. So it also was a kind of dangerous place. So I would say I see a lot of people belonging to the jungle, but still they're still trapped in a cage because they fear they will be dead in the jungle. So that's part of what I saw. Yeah. So I think life coaching is also something that can help bring the kind of confidence in those people who originally belonging to the jungle because yeah, it really instilled a kind of energy and confidence in yourself.
Yeah, wow, wow. So eventually through all of this, right? You understood, your life coach told you don't put yourself in a cage, get out there, do it. Eventually through all of this, like, life artist was born, right? Eventually you decided to step out and really do that. So I know that as founders, I always say that our companies transform us as individuals just as much as we mold and shape them. What has building life artists and your coaching practice taught you about yourself and how you view others in the world around you?
It's really the most rewarding experience I have ever done. I mean, I have worked in corporate world for 5 years. I never experienced something so profound in my career. Like last year, I quit from bike dance and became a full-time life coach, and then went to Silicon Valley to, do my own business and live here. And one thing I noticed is that, oh, although I physically, jump to the jungle, but mentally, my pattern was still like in a cage. So that's some big change I observed. What is my pattern at that time? It's like, oh, kind of like in a fear mode, always trying to prove myself, always trying to do more things to survive, or to how to say, to prove myself, just like in a cage you need to prove to your feeders, right? Oh, I'm the best or something like that. But I realized that when I come out of to the jungle, and I would, you know my way of art life artist is not about competition. It's about being able to be still, being able to embrace the moments and really relax. So I realized that I have been given a different mission and different tasks to do in my next phase. um, and also I realized that there are a lot to go through when you see a lot of like uncertainties. I moved to a new country. I changed the job totally. I face a new network, right? All the things you need to do it yourself, and you need to. The second thing I learned is to really believing is seeing instead of like seeing until you believe. I think that's one very great spirit of entrepreneurs. We really are the visionaries who believe first and then bring that belief to reality, and that's why we can generate something wonderful that we generate something that the world doesn't exist.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you talked about how even when we step into the jungle, right? So even if we say, I'm going to take that risk, leave my full time job, be an entrepreneur, whatever, mentally, I'm still in a cage. Mentally, I'm still operating out of fear. And I bring that back to your experience working in the China business schools. You understood they were dealing with that fear. Like I might physically be free, but mentally, I'm in a cage. And I think that's so profound because I think as founders, there's this point where we just have to stop caring. We just have to stop caring about what other people think or even about what success looks like to others. And when we are entrepreneurs, but we are still beholden to others' image of success or others' image of what our business or our life should be, we're still very much in that cage. And I've had to deal with that as well.
Yes, yes, exactly. I once talked to a like millionaire in China, and he told me like, oh, if I cannot make like $20 million a year, I would consider myself a loser. I would say, oh my God, why why would you do that to yourself, right? And then because that's out of competition, because his peers may earn much more than he does, right? So I would say, oh my God. So there is no end if we are playing that game, right?
Thank you for shouting that out. There's absolutely no end. I totally agree. So I want to know, like for you, like somewhere within your time at ByteDance. So you talked about like being at ByteDance and knowing that you wanted to take that leap to do life coaching full time. When was that moment for you when you knew you had to make a shift? And what were some of the fears, emotions, or uncertainties that you had to work through when making that transition?
Yeah, the first notion came when I spent some time in Dali at that time. At that time, like we were locked at home and people were not allowed to go because of pandemic still, like 2022. And I spent some time in Dali. That place is like a place where you can really be yourself with the beautiful skies, etc. And I make a wish to the universe saying that, oh, this life, I want to be able to do a job that can allow me to work anywhere. Simple wish. And then, I have been, at that time, I've been doing coaching for 2 or 3 years. After I came back to Beijing, still continue my work, suddenly I realized that my coaching clients just soar out of no reasons. Maybe after 2 years practicing, people refer someone to me and etc. And at the first time, I realized that maybe that's in February last year. I realized that the coaching revenue I got was kind of more than what I earned in ByteDance in my main job. And I saw that as a signal for me to really, I can in, independently do this thing. And I want to invest more energy into it. And simultaneously, I've done coaching, marketing for 3 years. I kind of didn't see the growth pace in ByteDance as I did before. There was not enough space for me to grow. So I immediately like made a kind of mental decision. Eventually, why the decision came, it just happened gradually. And I think the biggest obstacle I overcame was the fear of money. Because, in the workplace, your income was steady, but after you came out, you have to earn yourself. And it kind of like facing a fluctuations of money, which I experience still now, like, right? But how did I overcome that? At that time, my husband, who was my boyfriend, said like, I can support your, your housing, etc. That gave me a kind of a lot of confidence. I mean, I can definitely support my housing, etc. But when he said that, it made me feel mentally empowered and kind of like I'm supporting in a net. And my parents also supported me. So I feel like when you make a very bold decision, if your network is all supporting you, they're kind of like making a net, safety net for your jumping. So you won't feel so scared. So you basically move to the next round. So that's what I would recommend to people. If you want to make very bold decisions, just make sure you talk to the people who love you. and ask for their support, and that will really help you in your entrepreneurship journey.
I love that. And I love the fact that you are talking a lot about, you set that intention. So you said, you literally said, like, you put that prayer out to the universe, like, this is what I want for my life. You weren't, and I think like when we set intentions for our lives, it's this thing of like, this is what I want and I'm not willing to compromise on it. So when we have that sense of resolve, like you said, the people in our lives, resources, you begin receiving more coaching clients. It's almost like the moment that our mindset shifts, we begin to fully get in alignment with everything we've always wanted. And I think you're speaking a lot about like the people around us, and everything will just begin to align. Or I would say, if you don't have those people in your life, find those people that believe in your biggest, boldest, bravest self, and not who you are at this level, but who you can be. So I really love that. And I think it's a testament to the fact that you are a master manifester. I have to say it.
I'm really like, that's what I see myself. I'm a master manifester. I have so many experiences manifesting something successfully. I don't know why. Like, yeah. And but I also want to mention about the network. It's all not about like family or friends, but also you need to find people who are going to the same path as you do. So for example, before I jump out, I actually already have so many connections with some uh, you know, some freelancers or independent life coaches, etc. So seeing their life like this gave me a lot of confidence about myself. So if you are really considering like doing something like that, go to some people who have already done this or who are really or like right now doing this, so you will get a lot of like mental assurance. I think everyone needs like safety or assurance. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you said the same people who are moving in the same direction, right? And on the same path, not necessarily people who are the flashiest or have the most status or have the most Instagram followers, but people who are moving in the same direction, because it's like we are the sum of the company that we keep. We like to say that a lot of the time in America. I'm not sure what the saying might be in China, but we like to say that we're the sum of the company that we keep. You're the average of the people that you surround yourself with. So make sure you surround yourself with people who share your ideals, share your vision, and share your passion, because that's so important. And that's very, very vital to me as well on my journey. So I have one last question for you. One last question. There might be people listening who think about being a life coach. They say, like, I feel like I'm similar to Zoe. I feel like I'm an empathetic person. I'm a visionary. I'm a manifester. And I want to help people to build literally their lives into art, into their ideal vision. So my question for you, my last question for you is, what tips might you have for someone who wants to become a life coach, either in the China or the US context? How can they finally go from dreaming about being a life coach to actively building their life coaching career?
Mm, yeah, I have actually, besides life coaching, I also mentor a lot of life coaches to pursue their ACC, assistant life coach and professional life coach career. The first advice I would give to them is to find a life coach that can help you unblock many of your limited beliefs and pursue your dreams. Because when you actually experience the kind of fundamental change through life coaching, you will have, you know, substantial faith in this and also a lot of conviction in this profession. So you're not pursuing this out of, for the freedom, for your self freedom or for something. You will really see the fundamental change in you. So then I think it really can help you with your long term career development. That's what happened to me because I have been deeply changed. So I would have no question about the effectiveness of coaching. The second one is to, you can attend some courses in coaching. There are a lot of like amazing coaching institutions, like the one I did, Coactive Coaching, is the biggest and the biggest and the largest and the longest. I would say the Coactive Coaching Institution is the largest and the oldest coaching institution in the world. So just finding those institutions, they will help you get you prepared. The third one is to practice. Yeah, you can use those coaching skills in your daily conversations with friends, or you can really recruit some volunteers and you can help them do that first without maybe not charging money, but you can do that practice. I think the most important things about beginning your coaching career is to really practice.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna sum it up for y'all. Okay, Zoe dropped the wisdom. Number one, like get into coaching, right? Get transformed, like learn that coaching works, get rid of those limiting beliefs. Number two, find the institutions, associations, etc., where you can learn. Surround yourself with other aspiring life coaches and band together. Find people on the same path. And then number three, practice. Become a coach in everyday life and practice when people get their feedback and refine your skills. All right, Zoe, this was an episode. This was an episode. I love your wisdom. I love your heart for helping other people. And I just want to say thank you for doing the work that you do. I think you are transforming lives. You yourself have been transformed, and you are sending that light to so many other people to transform them. And I know this episode is going to touch hearts, minds, souls, literally mind, body, soul transformation. So I'm excited for you. I'm so excited for you. And I'm so thankful. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Yeah, I would also say, Soraya, you're really a great interviewer, and you really ask wonderful questions and can, even like gave me a lot of insights about myself. You have a incredible way of expressing your opinions and really see people as who they are. I love this in you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Zoe, we'll be in touch. All right, take care. Zoe, I loved that analogy about being a tiger in a cage. Even after our episode ended, I kept thinking about it. In this episode, you helped us all to unleash our tiger out of the cage and fully answer to our calling. With the gems you dropped on living a life that embraces our mind, body, and soul, to the vulnerability around your own life coaching experience while living in Germany, we are inspired. Thank you for standing for the importance of looking deep within ourselves to truly find what we were created and destined to do. This conversation has left us more fed, rooted, and whole than ever. Zoe, thank you for using your gift to uplift, to inspire, to encourage. Your answering the call to life coaching has inspired many, including me, to begin coaching to help others wherever we are. Anyway, this is Soraya, and we're out with the podcast for the people, your career, and the culture. Peace. We're out.